You're listening to the Digital Deep Dive, where we tackle the newest trends, strategies, and pain points shaping growth across the digital landscape. From Amazon and D2C to international expansion, join our host and e-commerce leaders across multiple industries for in-depth discussions on how to maximize your brands in the digital arena. Now, here's your host, Aaron Conant.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Conant. And yeah, we've taken a few weeks off here after 2 years and over 100 episodes. Just took a brief break during the e-commerce trade show season, spring break. But good to be back, and kind of serendipitously back as well. Originally had a podcast and a guest scheduled, and it didn't quite work out. And then out of the blue, a brand that's been part of the network for a while reached out and was like, hey, I'd love to be on the podcast. And so we've got Amitai here from Overstock Art. His brother, David, spoke to him multiple times in the past. Just really cool, and just a story to kind of walk through as a whole. But, Amitai, I'll kick it over to you. Like, get a little background of yourself, the company, the fun stuff, and then it's just a cool conversation back and forth. Does that sound cool?
Sounds great. Yeah. Thanks for having me on such short notice. It's serendipitous for you as well as for me. So I think it worked out well. So I'm Amitai, and me and my brother David, we started this company called Overstock Art back in the early 2000s. So we've been doing this for a long time. And we started this business. It's an art gallery that is selling hand-painted art reproductions of famous artists. That's like our flagship product. So you can buy a hand-painted Van Gogh or Monet. And so the idea was to look for something that what we found in oil paintings is that it's something with a very high perceived value that we can offer to customers. And we like to say that we, took a product that once was only a product of the rich and made it available for everyone. And so we started off with this product, just putting it on ubid.com. There used to be a site like that, and it turned out that, it was selling pretty well. And so we decided to take this product and make a business around it. Eventually we added framing. And so we've now have in Wichita, Kansas, a complete production facility that's including our distribution center. And in that facility, we have saws and underpinners and all sorts of production lines where we chop and join frames, and we stretch canvases, and we produce museum quality framing and hand-painted oil paintings to everybody in the United States. In less than 3 days, you can have it ready to hang on your wall. And
in less than 3 days?
In less than 3 days, we actually hold stock. Everything holds stock. We have, and that's a story in and of itself, because that's like 10,000.
I just moved into a new house. I want to send this over to the wife, and I think she's going to end up. Because anything you order now, right? It's like, especially for a house, it's like, 4 or 5 weeks. We ordered some chairs, and it took 3 months for them to come in. This is pretty cool, though.
Yeah. No, we, because, in e-commerce, you don't have the luxury to do one thing good, or, you need to do everything very, very good. And that's what we've learned the hard way.
Have you always been like, so this all started online, like never store anything?
Never store. We are pure play online retail. We were like, and this is the early 2000s, and it's like, who's going to buy art online? That was like the thought. It's not a book. It's not a CD. It's something that, it's going to be. And so there was a lot of, we were kind of alone in the space at first. We took a lot of, and we were able to find arbitrage in the space, like, certain situation to drive traffic to our site. And also we knew that partner retails is super important. So we connected with a lot of retailers throughout the year. Now we have a network of retailers that we partner with, where you actually buy from them, but it ships from us. So we're shared retailers with Macy's and Nordstrom and Kohl's and Home Depot and many other retailers, as well as, of course, Amazon. We work with Amazon vendors.
Where where did you then start like in a that early on a platform selection? Right? I mean, this is like
Yeah,
this is back in the day,
yeah,
right?
yeah. This is back in the
I mean,
day.
because
Yeah,
if you're more recent, right, you're like, oh, look, I've got all these. I can go with BigCommerce. I can go with Shopify. You know, international. I can go with Shopware. Maybe it's VTEX. I've got all of
yeah,
these different platforms. But back in the day, it's like, were you just building it? Like, where did you
yeah.
start?
Shopify was not there, but yeah, but we actually started off as a Yahoo store back in the day. I don't know if you're familiar, but back then Yahoo store was pretty big. I mean, there were a lot of retailers that worked on Yahoo
I'm
stores.
like Googling it right now. Yahoo store.
Yeah, yeah. They used this super. It was really odd language called RTML, and it was kind of a Lisp language where you wrote code in like this format it's used by banks and things like that. I mean, like those kinds of coding at the time, and it was like it created template. It was like a template generator. So you would write the code and would just produce HTML pages that would go online. So it wasn't database driven at all, even. And so we were on a hosted solution for a long time. And then like 2013, we were like, okay, we need to find a solution that's going to fit us. We were done a little bit with the hosted side, and also Yahoo was going through some spin-off with the Yahoo small business side, so we wanted off of that platform. And so we had to kind of pick and choose what sort of stack are we going to go after. And Shopify was just starting off, at the time. So that wasn't a real viable solution. BigCommerce, I think, was already around a little bit. But we opted to go with a solution that was completely custom. Essentially, we took OpenCart, which is an open source e-commerce PHP MySQL system, but it's very, very lean. That's what we liked about it, as opposed to like a Magento or even OS Commerce or PrestaShop. It was very lean, and so we can build upon that. And for us, it was super important because we wanted to inject into our e-commerce every process that we do. We wanted to be optimized and kind of flow, because you work with 20 different retailers and your own stream of sales and inventory, and you need to feed off all this information and then build out models regarding demand, because you want to hold stock just what you need. You don't want to hold too much stock. So we wanted to inject a lot of these automations. So we opted with a kind of a homegrown solution.
Well, you had to, right? I mean, back in the day you look back at like right now, there's so many options for plugging. Even if you get into the marketplace space, the Miracles, the VTEXs, there's
Mhm.
so many different ways to do it. But when you look back a decade ago,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're like cutting edge at that point in time.
Yeah.
You could have built a miracle. I mean, you probably did of your own, right? How do you connect all these different retailers and then handle
Mhm.
the orders, the feeds, and have it feed into overall inventory, logistics,
Yeah.
shipping, delivery?
Yeah, we basically built. So I come with the technical hat. So David's is the CEO of the company, and I do all of the basically run development. I'm in charge of the back end and all. I mean, of course, the customer facing side, but also all the back end infrastructure, everything to do from our feed management you were talking about, inventory, as far as connecting it with our vendors, so our supply chain, all that mechanism, and all the different tools that run our business on a regular basis. Other than our accounting, which is off the shelf, everything is kind of homegrown, built like that.
Oh, so you don't. So you're not using like Channel Advisor stormed on the scene about that time.
That's true.
There's a Feedonomics, but you're not using those. You build it all on your own.
Yeah, we build it all
So
on
awesome, man.
yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, and the thing is, like with a channel advisor, the cost of that would be insane with a lot of like connectors, and we don't want that to be a deciding factor if we wanted to have it on or not. We, yeah, there is heavy lifting, connecting to each, and then like, but we have so many rules. Each has like all these little rules in them that it was important for us to be in control of our feeds a little bit.
It,
Um, yeah.
I was so I have to imagine. So right now, shipping is huge, right? I mean, shipping cost, I should say, as a whole. I would think you dim out a bunch. I know a lot of people are asking for that right now. So I'll give
Yeah.
you a quick rundown of, so I'll talk to 20 or 30 brands a week.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things that's coming up is obviously profitability, but we can't ship it. There's a lot of introspection on should we have a direct to consumer site right now
Mhm.
because of shipping cost, customer acquisition cost, shipping cost. At the end of the day, they're like, I don't know if I'm making money or not. There's the one aspect I need to keep it for like almost like an R&D budget. I need to stay on top of newest trends and what's going on, first party
Yeah.
data acquisition, collection mechanism. The other side is like people are losing money, and one of those spots is like in the shipping category.
Yeah.
How do you handle that? Are you able to just pass it on to the customer? Are they open to it, or
Well,
that's
yeah,
huge for a lot of people?
yeah. Sometimes I think that I should wear a FedEx hat. I mean, it's like I feel like I work for FedEx. Um, but it's the thing is that the inflation of shipping costs in the last few years has been super impactful. I mean, on brands. For us, it's been, we sell, if you buy a painting that's framed, that's like a size, it can get to the size of it, like a big screen TV. I mean, that's a big box. No one wants to handle that kind of box. So it's very, and it's not like there's so many options out there. So you can, negotiate through until a certain point, but not too much. And so for us, we had to jack up prices at some point to handle that increase because else we were just not making any money. Um, a cost to ship could be around $90 sometimes. I mean, some of these boxes, and we are offering free shipping, so and we have to take that into account. So we did go through price increases because of those changes. But also we in our systems we also, we work with partner retail where we're negotiating the price, and a lot of times it's going to be on their account to ship out product. So that kind of neutralizes those increases for us. But other than that, we're just very conscious about box sizes. So our function that involves with the different sizes is like pretty crazy. We have a lot of different box sizes that we've introduced. Trying to minimize the box, it could be a difference of a lot of dollars. So really getting optimized in that, and that's again part of the reason why we went to be a custom solution, so we can be very very focused on what we're pricing customers. I mean, in the 2 day and the overnights, and also international. So all that we have to be very, very, optimized with the box.
Do you do you get like pitched by like I mean Adobe Commerce now? I'm old school too. I'm Magento, right? Or a big commerce.
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean Shopify, in my opinion, was kind of wayward a little bit until they sold Deliver, and then they got completely back on track.
Completely.
But do you get pitched by these people like all the time? Because one thing that comes along with them is all these additional solutions where you can buy, not build.
True.
Or and I just know a lot of people have this in the back of their head, like, is it build versus buy all the time? And so you are 100% pretty much build, right? Which is cool. It's an interesting perspective because not a lot of people have done it. I mean, just seeing the future, you've got over 20 years experience in it. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier, but I'd love, like, are you getting pitched by these people? Like, what did those go with? Or are they, or no?
Well, first of all, we do use third parties. There's certain things that you have to have third parties. Like I can build, and we built a review system, but you need to have a Yapo or some sort of third party that's going to, submit to Google and do all because they're, Google certified. You can't do that. I think search engine, our internal search, it was Nextopia that was bought by SearchSpring. So we use SearchSpring essentially if for our search. We use it, with their APIs, and it's very integrated into the site, but it is an engine that has fuzzy logic, that has, things that I don't need to develop. These are things,
Okay.
ESP, I'm not going to send from my own server emails that won't work, so we use Sailthrough as an ESP. We use third parties. These, Shopify, I think, Shopify right now, what it feels like is like the only game in town. Like if I was starting off today and the product was pretty simple, absolutely, no, hands down. And I do work with other brands that I started now a heated jacket brand, K7 heated jackets, either jackets that have batteries. And that's, first thing, we put it on Amazon, but after that, we put it on Shopify and just spun up a store. And, it's just so easy. But, all these solutions, if you integrate that with a Shopify, it can get pretty expensive, first of all. And second of all, the impact of latency of these plugins, it's pretty detrimental. I mean, I've seen brands and Shopify brands that have this huge payload every time. So many API calls that are just completely unnecessary going on. All of a sudden, 503 failed calls all across the site. It's in the background, you don't see it, and blah blah blah. But I don't know. For me, it just, with brands that are, that it just feels like, for me, it was something that I don't like. And I'm a little anal with those kind of things. It just bugs me.
No, I mean, that's one of the big things that's happening right now is people are focusing on the page load speed. We got some great friends over a company called Edgio. They're pre-caching. But even when you talk to brands, so they don't even understand what's going on, because over the past 2.5 years, there was so many of these new little plugins that popped up, and everybody had the fear of missing out, right? The FOMO going on. And they're like, oh, I've got to sign up for that. I've got to sign up for that. I got to sign up for that. I got to make sure I have everything. And then, like you're saying, there you have this massive tech stack, and nobody really knows, especially on Shopify, I've done a podcast, a guy named Brad Day. He's got Day Zen Consulting, and he doesn't build websites. He's like top Shopify consultant. And what was really interesting was the conversation. He'll step in, and the first thing you'll have to do is like, okay, well, let's map out how everything works. And people are like, what do you mean map it out? He's like, what do you mean? What do you mean map it out? How is everything connected and talking? And they literally have no idea, because they think they can just connect.
Yeah.
And not knowing that every time you do, it slows things down. But if you're right out of the gate, I mean, it's a great option.
Absolutely.
But this Edgio, that's just, they end up pre-caching to solve a bunch of it. They're guessing the next 10 buttons you're going to hit, you could click on, and they're pre-caching it. So it's near instantaneous, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. That's kind of similar to, all the React and all those, basically changing it into,
but it doesn't solve the underlying problem, right? Like, you got a lot of stuff.
The additional load is going to be slow. And also, so Google might not even see it as an improvement. But it's, I think I also use a plugin. For instance, I was using Akamai for a while as a CDN. And I found this interesting company called Image Engine. where they're not only making because like Shopify, they're serving your images in a format that's modern, in a modern format. Forgot the name of the format right now, but it's one of those modern formats. But they're not making the images small a lot of times, so that the images themselves still have a pretty high payload. But what they're doing is they're you're giving them a high quality image, and they're able to shrink it and also put it into a format that's going to be a modern format that Google's going to like.
Do you have an app? Have you gone down that route, or?
Well, yeah, an iPhone app, an iPad app. To be honest, though, that we've never found it to be super successful. Yeah, WebP image. That's the format that I was talking about. Sorry. So yeah, it's but the apps. What we tried to do with them is kind of go the extra mile. We actually, like in 2013, you were talking about starting off. Like I was doing a pitch on at eTail West. I mean, just joining a conversation on being a guest speaker there, and just showing off our app because it was the first time that we connected. We connected push notifications with basically the app, and showing them that every time we sent an email, we made a connector that made the subject line the push notification to all the app users, and we showed how that impacted our sales every time that happened. And so, those kinds of little things that we first encountered as we were building the business and creating more and more technology on top, that helped us kind of build that initial. But then, every time something opens, something closes. You have everybody kind of joining the team. Where all the push notifications has completely changed since then. But we keep going from one thing to the next, because you really need to find ways to drive traffic to the store. When you're talking about starting off today, definitely spin up a Shopify store. But how are you going to drive traffic to that store? And not, you can't rely today on ads and driving traffic. Just the acquisition cost is just insane. We're talking about inflation in shipping. There's inflation in CPC costs and with those driving traffic like that. So you have to find a way to drive traffic that's going to be essentially free, and find a way to get that traffic to your site.
Yeah, I mean, it's the costs are going through the roof. The number one, like I was saying, the number one conversation is around profitability. But you nailed it. It is around every aspect of it. And even when you get into the Amazon space, like how much they're taking, right? The chargebacks they have, if you're on the vendor side, it is everybody's looking for, ways to carve out cost. And I feel like we're getting there with some of this new tech that's popping up. When it's AI driven and they don't have to throw people at it on the back end, it can actually be truly SaaS AI driven. So you can drive down, some of the costs that are out there. There's a bunch of new tools that are coming out, but just now, right? In the past, I look at like a lot of the machine learning, everything was machine learning and AI, but it was really just the mechanical Turk, right? Like it goes in, it goes offshore, a bunch of people crunch data and then they feed it back in, and then it looks like pretty on a dashboard. But if you want to do anything again, it has to go over. People crank it, they send it back.
So inefficient.
Do you have any like cool like tech or stuff that you're like, this is pretty sweet? Or the other question is like, how are you handling traffic? And what do you think about the third-party cookies going away? Because I really think they're going away. I know Google's been saying it for like 5 years. It's going away. Just kidding, not quite yet. It's going away. Just kidding, not quite yet. But they're starting to turn them off. So multiple questions there.
Yeah. Well, starting with the cookies, I think that when you're the biggest impact on with cookies is going to be that your ability to work on data, or like the third parties to utilize the data on your site. So I think it's more on the third parties they're the ones who are going to get most impacted by this. And Facebook to solve it, because you can, or also just with you can do it through Google Tag Manager, just creating, and through the Google Cloud, you can create a server and just push all that data there and there. I mean, just push it to your web GTM and to your server GTM. I would start doing that for Facebook. I would start doing that for Google, for DA for sure. So you'd be able to still, be in the know in that period.
I don't think a lot of people are doing it.
Yeah.
I don't think they are. Key takeaway for everybody listening in: start doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need to go the, Facebook Connect, the Facebook APIs. You're just going to get also better data. I mean, right now, you're able to use first party data. You're able to use users' hashed email. You're able to use their, names and their address and everything in a hashed format. And so and then they can utilize it in their system to give you the right audience back when in your campaign. So definitely do that. Talking about driving traffic for us, for us to drive free traffic to the site is search engine optimization. I mean, people say, used to say SEO is dead and stuff like that, but and I think also with AI, also a lot of people are still saying it, or saying it again, but definitely SEO for us has been a huge, ability to drive traffic, because people are looking for Van Gogh, people are looking for Monet and Klimt. So we have a lot of keywords that people are searching for. So we're getting a ton of traffic from search engine. We used to be like number one for oil paintings, number one for canvas art. But, back in the day when everybody got the same search results, and that changed in the Penguin update back in 2013 or whatever that was, all of a sudden, we dropped a lot, and it was like something that we had to disavow links. It was like a huge process for us, but still for us, search engine traffic, make sure, again, how are you going to drive that free traffic? You need to, the other way that we're driving is through partnerships. Through our partner retail that we work with also drives traffic to us, of course, back. And also partnerships with even just connecting with the different vendors that you have. You can, get case studies out there, get links out there, work with Afterpay, work with, different payment options, get on their list. I mean, you got to be scrappy. You got to find every opportunity to drive traffic, create links back to the site, and build on those and build up partnerships like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of those are very much underutilized by brands as a whole. Right? I think, I'm going to sign up with an Afterpay or a Sezzle, whoever it might be, right? And say, okay, now people are going to jump on the site, and then they have an option. It's going to help me with conversion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you leverage that relationship right, they have a ton of traffic they can drive your way if you have a conversation with them on it. Right. Yeah. And now it's not quite like the heyday, I would say like 3 years ago, where like the Klarnas and all were paying obscene amounts of like closing dollars to drive traffic and, marketing dollars. And it's not where it used to be like a few years ago, but still utilize those. And, a lot of people, get talked into just having a single one. I think, the average number of payment options at checkout is like 8 now. So go ahead, add more. Go ahead, get a Sezzle, get an Afterpay, get a Klarna, put them all on there. Who cares? Quad Pay, Split It, or whatever they are. Zip now. Put them on. Get whatever option they want.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever the customer wants, you got to be able to fulfill it. Accounting is not going to like it that much, but that's what they'll manage. It's funny that you mentioned Sezzle, because I'm just in the process of going with some terms with them, and we're thinking about adding Sezzle. And exactly right. I mean, one of the things that we talk with them is that I'm willing to put your service on the site, but I need some marketing love here. Put me in a prominent position, and they'll be willing to give that to you. So I would recommend to
I really
When we,
like. Oh, go
Mhm.
ahead.
No, I remember like when we got in with Afterpay right as they were getting into the United States, right at the right time, they drove a ton of traffic for us at the day.
And
Yeah,
they were one of the only like highly adopted solutions right out of the gate. They had so much, and then the other
yeah,
fast followers. But I really like the team at Sezzle, right?
yeah.
They're certified B Corp,
Hmm.
right? They've got the right framework in place. They're profitable. They're doing all the right things to build a
Hmm.
sustainable business. Where
Hmm.
there's a lot of questions going on a few years ago, who was going to be around long term and was it sustainable? And they have. So
Nice.
yeah, they come. I know a ton of brands in the network using them, and
Hmm.
we look at it from a couple things. Right? Is hey, number one, are you working really well? Number two, are you nice people? Right?
Sure.
Like, they're just nice, and so
Yeah.
they score A pluses on both sides. Right? They're nice
Great.
people, and it's a great product. So,
Well, it's good
um,
to know. I'm in the sales process. So now we're on the honeymoon period. So,
okay,
so,
yeah,
so it's good to know.
yeah, yeah. They're cool people. I'm trying to think if there's other things that have popped up along the way. But I mean, I've been picking your brain. Do you have any questions like for me? Like, I'm pretty much an open book. The one last question or the one last statement I was going to have is like when you're talking about doing all these different things, it just made me think that being scrappy is the the answer is hard work. Right. The answer is hard work. And a lot of people don't want to hear. They want to know the next tool that's going to make it explode. I want to add buy now, pay later, and it's going to be great. Or I'm going to buy with Prime, or I'm going to, increase my page load speed. It's hard work. That's
Yeah.
the answer. And being open minded to change and trying new things. But then it never stops, right?
Never.
Because everything's changing so fast. And so
Yeah.
you had me thinking of that when you were talking. I'm like, this guy gets it. Like it doesn't stop.
It
Um,
does. That's true. And you have to be, you were talking about a tech that we're proud of. I think the one thing that keeps us profitable is our ability to manage our inventory, you know, and we've developed a system kind of based on Bayes' law a little bit. It's something that is we've able to determine demand based on very little number of items, like very little number of transactions, essentially. And we've been able to reduce our inventory by 80%. And just keep our availability high and our inventory low. And so we have very little cash that's sitting in inventory and still be available for a lot of different retailers. And I think that's our one thing that we're very proud of, and we actually developed it into this SaaS platform that we're starting now to kind of um, offer it
does
to other.
does it work around Amazon?
Yeah, it works on basically it works with your billing. So like for instance, you take in your sales data. So SKU number, like part number and um, and sales. Let's say you take a 365, rolling 365 count of that, and daily you add that and you build a model based on sales. And then you look at inventory. So you have inventory every day and sales every day, and you start building a model that can tell you to forecast demand, taking into account how much time it takes, for instance, production time that it takes for that item, and how long it's going to take it since you order it till it gets to your warehouse, taking into account seasonality and things like that. And you build this, and then we're able to project how many units we need to buy, and we can buy because it's not only accurate, it's very easy and fast. We don't even have a buyer, or anything. It's just every week we work in, theory of constraint. They work in smart and small batches. So we work in smart and small batches of orders, small orders that, and if you look at a graph of your inventory, if you like a many apparel brand, order summer and you order, for fall, or you have like 2 seasons and you buy like this huge amount of inventory and you're hoping to sell out of it. So guess what? Your average inventory is going to be so high. But if you work in small batches, you never get to that high end, or you never do that. So everything, your cash is free, and it helps us to, it's all about cash management, like you said, and, profitability.
That's
So, yeah.
like another whole call.
Yeah, that's true. That's
because a lot of people would want to see that because, right? I mean, especially if you think about over the past few years, everything that happened with the pandemic, we don't have enough. We overordered. The slug finally came in.
yeah,
Now all of our cash is tied up in that inventory. We're trying. Oh, now actually, we might have to liquidate it at the end of the year. Now that impacts what I ordered, in the spring to arrive in the fall. Now I'm
yeah,
liquidating. Now I've reset my price. What do I do with it? Do I set it on fire? Like I don't want to do that, but I can't liquidate it because it drives down all the other retails.
yeah. COVID was insane. COVID was insane. I mean,
It was 4 years ago that when it
yeah,
started. That's crazy.
yeah,
Like everything that happened with it, but also we were just reminiscing with some friends. Like,
yeah,
wait a minute. Like, so we were supposed to be in groups like no bigger than 10. Well, we're 6 in my family. They were in 4. So we could like hang out as this
yeah.
COVID family. But yeah,
Insane.
inventory pricing, everybody jumping in.
Mhm.
Um, another thing that we saw was a lot of people who didn't know anything about e-commerce just put digital in front of their title on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden we get like a 50% pay increase because
Uh,
they get hired someplace else, and all that's
no,
evening out.
it was a real boom. I mean, for us, everybody was investing in their homes. We're in our industry. So, I mean, at first, March 2020, everybody was like, "Oh my God!" I mean, Rudy Gobert touching mics, all of a sudden he has corona, and we're like, okay, are we going to open? I mean, we have frontline employees. They need to get boxes out the door. They need like special permissions to drive in Wichita to get to their office. I mean, it's crazy. But we decided to stay. We were able to stay open, and it was like a boom for us.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Anyways, I gave you the chance to ask questions, and I totally took it away. So I'm
Sorry.
going back. Like,
Yeah.
any
Oh,
questions you have for
yeah.
me?
You were talking about. I mean, the big question right now is we always talk about improvement, and you were talking about AI. What do you think is can impact e-commerce right now as far as AI? And what have you seen? And that's pretty cool.
Um, I think we're just on the cusp. So I've seen some cool stuff that I don't know if it's worth promoting yet because I don't know where it ends up. But I'll give you my overarching view on AI, which is um, you need to have as much first party data as possible because these AI tools, and I don't know if I said this on a previous podcast or not, but it's a great just I'll probably say it 100 more times this year. The current tools that are out there are working off basically the internet. So they're all prediction engines, right? And so they're pulling from the same data. So most of them are going to give the same answer or pretty
Mhm.
close to it. Well, the next phase of all these tools that are coming out is they're going to build off your own first party data. And the more you have and the cleaner it is, like the better that prediction machine is going to work.
Yeah.
And so right now, you need to be focused on getting as much first party data as possible that's actually your customer. So I had this question the other day from a brand like, oh, I've got all these people offering to sell me first party data. Like, well, how clean is it? Right. And what are you doing and how much are you getting? And then where are you storing it? Because I look back a few years ago, what I think AI is going to come in the biggest and best is going to be like with a CDP, right? That can, if you can get the right clean data in, but CDP stormed out of the scene a couple years ago and everybody had a bunch of data, but none of it was cleaned up and none of it was deduped. And if you plug that into a CDP, garbage comes out. And it's
Yeah.
not the CDP's fault. The CDP is
Yeah.
like, no, you said you had data. And like, yeah, we do. It's all over here. Like, yeah, but it's garbage data. But if you
Yeah.
can get that clean first party data, these new tools, you're going to plug in and you're going to win. If you have more than anybody else, you are going to win because you're going to be more accurate in your advertising. You're going to be more accurate in everything that you're doing, the content that you're creating, your bid management, where you're targeting, how much you're spending, what time of day you're spending. All of the is going to be built off from your first party data, which means you're going to get more sales quicker. And it's moving faster than ever. Like every 2 months is like a year now. So you're going to get this massive head start that nobody's going to be able to catch up with. And so that's where I'm telling people right now, get your first party data. There's a company, I got to go back because Tim Armstrong, I had him on, he's at Flowcode. And he was at AOL, and then he was at Google, and now he has Flowcode. And he was just ahead of his time. So 2 years, 3 years ago, he came out like, hey, like we've got it's not a QR code company. It's a first party data collection and attribution tool that uses a QR code. And people were like, that's cute, but we can get QR codes for cheap. You know, we got enough first party data. We can buy it everywhere. Well, right now it's blowing up because he's got a GDPR, CCPA compliant first party data collection attribution tool that's getting clean, verified data in a double opt-in by the person who's giving it to you. There's not a better tool out there. There isn't. And so people are slapping that QR code on everything. I was at the state of Michigan. My oldest turned 18, got a new driver's license. It had a Flowcode QR code on there, right? And what in the world? NCAA, like there's tons of brands that are using them. It's crazy. So that's where first party data, I don't think we're quite there with a bunch of the tools yet, but we're now months away, not years away. That's kind of so.
Yeah, they keep pushing it back to singularity. We're going to be at singularity, what, 2029 or?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, I absolutely agree, because if you have the data, you know, AI is going to be able to analyze it and give you, and also even act upon connecting, and because it has the macro data, and that's what's nice about it. I mean, it already has the macro. You just given it, you know, that specific, and that together in and of itself can create just very, very, I mean, I'm thinking about flows, you know, from triggered flows to anything that could, to connect with your customer.
Yeah, what I'm waiting for right now, and there's a couple players in the space that I think will make it there, is on that ad tech side, where you can take that first party data and plug it in, but and then it can create the ad copy, the imagery, and then do the bidding on the right platforms at the right time of day, and A/B test and automatically iterate, based on, I came from OTC Pharma. So obviously there's going to have to be a check in there of, hey, it's okay to say that. But other than that, it's just going to hit go, and it's just going to do it real time. And it's just going to nonstop be A/B testing to drive traffic. And that's where we have to get to the next level of driving down these customer acquisition costs. But with that means it's going to be easier for everybody to do it. So again, I mean, you think Amazon back in the day, I was getting nickel bids. And now it's not really realistic anymore. Any key thoughts or key takeaways as we kind of get to time here? I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I'm so glad you pinged me and was like, hey, would love to do a podcast, because this has been absolutely fantastic. But any key thoughts as we kind of wrap up here for people, or that they should be thinking about, or things you've learned?
Yeah. Key thoughts. I think, just if you're starting up, then definitely, and you have a simple product, I think, Shopify is probably the way to go right now. Seems like the only game in town, really. But think of how you're driving traffic to the site. That's going to be, basically free. Know your numbers. Understand that, look at your P&L, understand what's going on. We use a scorecard system that we go through weekly. Know how many units are going out the door, know what your marketing spend was, know how many How many bestsellers do you have? Know your availability. Just keep track of these key numbers, and don't go after those shiny objects. Don't go through. I mean, use more of what you have. Utilize that. The more you do, don't go after the different tools out there and just keep adding plugins. Try and utilize what you have to the max. We rarely do. There's always something that we're not utilizing or something. So look at maximizing anything today.
Yeah. Well, awesome, my friend. This has been a total blast. Probably I'm gonna for sure invite you back, and we can rehash stuff in another few months here. But with that, everybody, we're gonna wrap up this episode of the Digital Deep Dive. Thanks everybody for listening in.